Community is about geographic communities, it's about communities of interest and about virtual communities. I still don't get virtual communities very well. I can't get young people connecting to creating a fictitious character based on themselves and joining a fictitious place called the Hubbo Hotel, paying real money to interact with fictitious people at fictitious parties. I don't understand that, but I'm old. But the young people that I speak to, that is a real important community connection for them. Now, so there are a variety of different types of communities, geographic, of interest and virtual. There is a difference between community and neighbourhood. Neighbourhood is about things, it's about access, it's about built form, it's about planning. Community is about social interaction. It's about people networking together. So don't believe for a second that urban planning or architecture or public open space can build community. Community is different from that. That provides the environment in which community can happen. And good planning and good architecture and good public open space makes it easier, but it's not community. Community is about social capital. And social capital is real simple. Social capital is just the networks that people have to get stuff done. And some people have fantastic social capital and others have none. And I'm being really general here, by the way, because it actually, if you want to be involved in community development, you must have a deep understanding of the sociology of community. You have to have a deep understanding of the social psychology of community if you really want to have an impact. The second part of the sociology of community is wellness. And this is really about how well an individual is socially, psychologically, spiritually and every other way. So it's about the person. The third part of the sociology of community is about quality of life. And that's about things like community health and social cohesion and strong community structures and those types of things. It's about that community. And then the last part of the sociology of community is about cultural anthropology. And that's how well we are connected to each other and how well we're connected to place. It's about the social association that we have with other people. The thing is that we need to have a thorough understanding of what makes up a community and how a community ticks, because all of these things must be addressed and evident at the same time. They can't just be nitpicked out and do a couple of them and think that we're actually involved in community. Now, but this is what's happening with some of the big institutions. A very big mining company said the other day at a conference that I was at that what they do is they're about capacity building. That's what they do in community development, because that's what community development is. And we give grants to people. That's what they do. They give grants to people. That's creating a greater dependence on an institution rather than being community development. A lot of corporates and land developers in the commercial arms of the commercial world are hot and cold about community development. They think that if they run an event and have a newsletter, they're involved in community development. They think if they have a division with the right title on it, and they employ a person with the right title, they're actually doing stuff which is meaningful. Often they're not. Often they're not. Now, what's government doing? Almost nothing. Almost nothing. Sure, welfare and a whole heap of social services are being delivered, but that's not community development. That's providing a safety net under those who are struggling. And consultation is not community development either. And a lot of people say, a lot of government agencies are saying they can tick the box because they're being involved in consultation. And everybody prides themselves in sustainability. Yet it is my view that people have been left out of the sustainability formula in Western Australia, as has local employment and often the local economy. Tell me where in the planning process in Western Australia is it a requirement for people planning? Sure, there are some impact statements and some social impact statements that are required, and some local governments are trying to build it into what they do. The planning process has lists and lists of environmental reports and environmental management things which need to be done, must be done to get an approval to do something. And I'm saying, yes, they need to be there, not arguing. But there are none for people. Zero that are about people. And at the very best, some people, some organisations have a commitment to community development, as I said, which waxes and wanes. Often community development is about ticking a box. Yes, we've considered it, tick, that's fine. Probably the best evidence we have is in branding. You know, all the great communities that we have, but there is very little evidence to suggest that anything of any decent community development is happening. Why isn't the government interested in making it a requirement that in the planning of our future that people are important? I don't know. Could be too hard. I was going to say sceptically or ironically that the inconvenient truth is really a very convenient excuse to ignore people, but I won't say that. I believe that the government development arm should be at the cutting edge of what's happening in community development and in people, but they're often the worst. At a meeting just last week, someone said, and this was internally to one of the big government agencies involved in land development, we have been told and we believe that it's not our responsibility to do people or social development. That's the role of local government. And yet they are responsible for some of the biggest chunks of dirt in Western Australia, and they own bits of every town centre in Western Australia. And yet they see their role as land developers rather than community developers. I find that staggering.